Welcome to NPK Live, episode 88, and we are joined by Solis Tek, and we have Josh on the right of me. Hi Josh, you okay?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm very good.
Good,
How far have
good.
you travelled to get here today?
Oh, I've come a long way, about 13 hour worth of flight. It's been a long trip. Good trip though, good trip. Yeah, had a great time so far.
Nice. I love it when we have the guys over from the US.
Yeah.
Because your accent is a nice contrast to this Liverpool accent.
Yeah.
And it make people that are listening in the US feel a bit more at home, a bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Rather than these weird Scouse accents. As much as we try and tone it down, it is what it is. So we are talking today about Solis Tek, your lighting company. How long has Solis Tek been going for?
Solis Tek was founded in 2009, so we've been going pretty strong now. Lots of growth. We're a publicly traded company now in the U.S., and we've been publicly traded on the market now for about a year and a half, I believe. We're doing pretty well. Constant growth, more innovations, bringing new products out, and maintaining the quality and the technology that we already have. Okay,
so to sort of sum up what we're going to talk about today is the big thing that I'm really interested in is the light diet.
Right.
That's something that's innovative. Nobody, to my knowledge, nobody's done that before. Do you guys know anyone who's done a light diet before?
No, very first. It's fine.
Yeah. And what I want to get across to people is that in the UK, I won't speak for the US. You can tell me differently. In the UK, there's a bit of a misconception. People think that the nutrition for a plant comes from nutrients, and that's not the case. The plant's nutrients and food is made by light. So when we talk about light diet and light nutrition, we can really alter and manage the shape of the plant.
Absolutely.
Depending on the type of light that we give it.
Absolutely.
And if you've ever used really cheap, nasty bulbs and then you've moved on to really good, high-quality bulbs, you can see the difference that it makes to your plants.
Absolutely.
So we're going to start off with some of what kit you bring into the market. So we've got the A1, which is your all-in-one fixture.
Correct.
The C1, which is your metal halides.
315.
Yeah. The Solis Tek 1000.
Yes.
And then the Matrix single-ended, double-ended 1000 watts. So
Correct.
The A1, tell us a little bit about that. I've got this here. So for the people on podcast that are listening, we're going to be showing off a few products. If you want to see the products, get over onto the Facebook page, NPK Hydroponics Live, and you'll be able to see what we're talking about. So for you guys looking, I'm going to strain here. This is the A1 lighting system, Solis Tek digital. How's that look on the screen there? Looking pretty good. Do you want to take that over and we'll pass it round? Yeah, gets it out my way as well. Pass it round. So while you were looking at that on the live feed, there's an instant difference that I can see, and the top of it is really flat.
Absolutely.
So you can get it pretty high.
Absolutely. You can actually hug that particular unit to the ceiling or to the top of a tent or anything that you have. We did that design intentionally to give more options and variables to the gardener himself. Before, with a lot of the previous double-ended fixture, all-in-one fixtures on the market, there was always a height restriction. That was something that turned me off to the certain units, and it did turn off, a lot of the other growers. So we wanted to come out with something that's a little more versatile, gives people more options, so on and so forth.
So some of the other fixtures, they have the electronics unit will be, let's say, lengthways, and then it'll have the hood and the bulb drop down a little bit. So I'm going to estimate you're losing 5 to 6 inches there.
Absolutely, yeah, you're losing that. So usually in units designed like that, like I said, there is an absolute height requirement. There is a restriction. You have to go into warehouses, places with ceiling heights as high as, you're talking 3-4 meters sometimes. As far as you have to really get them up there, and then not only that, the intensity of these lamps. You're going to put off more heat.
Yeah. So
you have to be very, very, very careful, and you have to really keep all that in mind as you're building out your garden.
Yeah. In the US, imagine you in the warehouses, tall ceilings, it might not be such a problem, but definitely in the UK, unless you're in one of these old Victorian houses, and a lot of people are in tents, 2 metre tall tents, in the 1000-watt fixtures, double-ended, if you're losing 4 inches, that can make a massive difference. It's 4 inches closer to the plant that you might potentially, and if these are plants that like to stretch, you can have problems. So that was the first feature I picked up on the A1s that I was really impressed with. Talking about the A1s, let's give a bit more of a description about them. What type of grower should be using them?
The A1s, they're designed for a commercial gardener. However, any gardener can use an A1. We've done testing with tents. We've got current gardeners right now running them in tents with no issues as far as heat goes. So the system itself is, anyone can use it. You don't necessarily have to be commercial. Now, the commercial accounts in the U.S., they obviously want more bang for their buck. So that's when Solis Tek, we like to come in, and pride ourselves in the technology that we are giving to the customer, as well as the safety features that are involved.
Yeah.
Solis Tek, we are hands down, we were the original for basically changing the game in lighting when it comes down to safety features. Yeah. We were the first ballast to be able to have the Sense Smart technology.
Okay.
Which is the 8-point safety check.
Yeah.
We were the first ballast to have that. We were the first ballast to allow ignition control, which is the staggered ignition between the different lights. Since then, every other major branded ballast and most companies in the industry have taken that technology and integrated it into their ballast. So we are responsible for a lot of positive changes in the industry as far as that goes. And that's kind of what we pride ourselves with the units. We're an innovative company. So we didn't see anything quite designed like the A1. The hood in itself, the shade for the A1 is unique as far as currently it's the largest spread DE hood on the market. With our fixture, and you have to excuse me because I'm trying to convert feet over into meters.
Yeah.
I believe it's a 1.5 by 2.5 spread at 10 foot.
Yeah.
For our A1. And that is in sequence as well. So there's a lot of different, it's just an all-around better unit. As a grower myself, this is something that I would like to put in regardless if I worked for Solis Tek or not. This would be the unit that I would choose just because of the different variations you can use it with.
Improvements that it's going to give.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, we were talking before we started the podcast, and I wish I'd have captured that look on your face, because for everyone in the UK, and me and Thomas go on about this nearly every single week, we say when we're talking, when we're at the trade shows and we're talking to the guys from the US, and we go, yeah, we really like your fixtures. A lot of people are using them. More common are just a digital ballast attached to a single-ended bulb and a reflector, but quite a few are still using magnetic ballasts. And then I said plastic coated magnetic ballasts, and he's not going to be able to replicate the look now, but you looked at me for like 3 seconds as if just changing the information, those cogs were just starting to weigh, and like, magnetic plastic coated ballasts.
Yes, that's something that we're not familiar with in the US. I have seen them since coming over to Europe and the UK, being able to see different things. That's something that we don't. That's not something you're going to see in a commercial facility in the United States. For one, I don't believe our inspectors are going to allow it to fly. They tend to be pretty strict with these guys. Yeah, that's something a little bit different. That's very old technology. Very old technology.
Very old technology. So make sure that you're switching off plastic magnetic ballast. If for the only reason that there is safety hazard and they can cause fires, if you're looking to upgrade and you're not looking to spend too much money, just go for the Pro Gears. They're the metal. They're still magnetic ballast, but they're encased in metal. The return rate is ridiculously low. They run a lot cooler than the plastic coateds. That's it, just the Pro Gears, and you can actually get them from Highlight. There's my shout out to Highlight. If you are on magnetics though, we do need to get you onto digitals, because like, if I wasn't friends with Josh, he'd have probably looked at me and started laughing at me because I even mentioned magnetic ballasts. So let's get our asses into gear. Let's start switching on to digital ballast. And if you can't afford the little extra expense, it is well worth getting all these integrated fixtures, because going from digital to the integrated 1000-watt double-ended, the spectrum is a lot more.
Well, the advantage of digital compared to magnetic is just tenfold. For one, you've got the technology. Once you take that magnetic ballast out of your garden, you're taking away noise, you're taking away extra heat, and those are, we describe them as tanks in the U.S. I mean, they are foolproof. You can repair them yourself. I've still got a few old magnetics in my my spares that are there just in case, but it's not really the go-to anymore. It's just it's older technology.
Yeah. Well, we're going to leave the A1 there for now, because I want to talk about the light diet in a minute, because that's a really thing I want to nail into. But for the people who are interested in Solis Tek, you do a few other products, the C1, the ceramic metal halide fixtures.
Yes, we just released our 315 ceramic metal halide. The first shipments due here around January is when they're going to be available. This unit, it's the exact same design as our A1, so you're still going to get the the design as far as the integration. We do offer 3200 Kelvin, and we offer the 4200 Kelvin lamp. So we're going to also give you a slight light diet for the ceramic metal halide as well. So far, it's a nice unit. We're getting a lot of good responses with it. we do have a couple of gardens in Colorado right now that are running them as tests.
Yeah.
And so far the feedback has been really good. Ceramic metal halide is really starting to make some moves.
Yeah.
It's got me excited personally as a gardener. So I plan on definitely working out the ceramic metal halides myself.
How long in the US has ceramic metal halide technology been going for? What's it?
Oh, it's been around for years.
Yeah.
Ceramic metal halide, it's not something as far as being brand new technology. It's just being educated and the awareness of it now really coming out. I've had older gardeners tell me that they've been talking about ceramic metal halide for years. So it's nothing that's super new,
Yeah.
but we've been able to evolve it
Yeah.
and innovate the technology to make it where it is today.
How long is, because what I'm trying to get to is how, and I know like the UK guys are probably going to have a little bit of a knock on with me, but we are behind the US, and our goal, like it or not, is we want to be better than what you guys are doing
Absolutely.
in the US. That's the goal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You want to be the best in your industry.
Absolutely.
But we are behind. There's no two ways about it. So when did ceramic metal halide start getting a buzz in the US? Because I feel, and I've got two other people that are in the UK with me, so they can disagree or agree. I'd say ceramic metal halides, the buzz began maybe a year ago, and it's been building up and building up and
It's
building
been
up.
about a year. It's been about a year when we really started noticing the buzz. When they first came out, we watched it and we knew that it was eventually going to come out, but we never really focused on. We always focused on it, but it wasn't really our priority until we really started seeing the results from our own testing.
Yeah.
And then we seen what could come about it, and wow, I can't believe what I'm saying, kind of
yeah.
type deal. And then we knew. Solis Tek, sometimes we're a little bit late to the game as far as releasing products, and we do that intentionally. Right now, there's several different ceramic metal halides on the market. I noticed over here in the UK there were quite a few as well. When we release a product, it's got to be a good product.
Yeah.
We don't want to release something that's premature and then have to deal with return rates and failures and things like that. So you can rest assured that when you're getting a Solis Tek product, it may take a little bit to get it in your hands, but you're going to get the best possible product that we possibly could bring you.
Yeah.
So about a year is when we started seeing them. Just within the past 3 months, we've really started, they're starting to ramp up, and it's growing so fast. It was just when the double-ended hype opened up in America 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago is what I want to say, is really when it started going off. It's the same way. It just happened like wildfire. Everybody's using them now.
Yeah.
So
And what would you say? And I know we stray slightly off topic on the Solis Tek because we don't get that. We don't get you guys coming over that often to podcast with us. What percentage, to the best of your knowledge, how many people in the US are using double-ended fixtures, and how many people still on just digital standard single-ended lights? What's the?
Oh, there's definitely a big difference now, a big fluctuation. Just to throw you a number out there, I would say 75% of the growers are definitely running DEs now. Back before, it was a little bit different. It was a little bit lower because you had the height restrictions, and the DE technology was still new to us in the U.S. It's something that we've never seen before as gardeners. And then once that hit, we've seen the results. Wow, that's the next greatest thing. So yeah, it's a little bit of a.
75% a lot of people.
It's a lot. It's you have to look at it when it comes down to the double-ended technology. As soon as you go double-ended technology, you're going to see an increase.
Yeah.
That's just the way the technology is designed. There's going to be an increase. So, but it's just a matter of finding the right environment to be able to use the double-ended technology, because there are more variables that you have to pay attention to.
You guys can correct me again, and it's good because I can be corrected here today. People using double-ended in the UK, and two very good people because you both sell double-ended fixtures. What percentage do you guys reckon? I'd go out and say 20% of
in
people.
the UK, in the whole of the UK.
Yeah, I'd say you wouldn't be far off with that, to be fair.
Yeah.
We're massively behind the States in terms of embracing the double-ended fixtures, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, so like Josh said, to throw a number out there, I'd say 20% probably.
Yeah.
Not far off.
I
You think it's slightly-
I think it's from area to area where you go.
Yeah.
Some areas they're virtually non-existent, and then you go to certain shops and they're very heavy in the double-ended fixtures. We personally, I've only the last 2-3 months have started doing more and more.
Yeah.
So I think I wouldn't have had it as high as 20%. But I'd say in some areas, down south there seems to be a bit more heavy into it.
Yeah.
There's certain shops. There's one in Manchester, I know, does a lot of lighting with the double-ended fixtures. But
a little bit low. I think I'd probably have been a little bit positive there.
Yeah.
I would like to think it's 20%.
Yeah.
And if it is lower, you all need to get your asses into gear and move into double-ended and start getting these Solis Tek sales up.
It's the way forward. You see more and more of it now. and more people get, and the word of mouth. When I visit shops, you're starting to hear more shops. I mean, I was in a shop the other day, and from one guy coming in, he's got all his friends on it, and I think they've done 150 in 6 months, which I think's a lot. So yeah, I think you're starting to see a lot more and more. I think the next year or two, it's going to really grow.
Yeah, hopefully.
It eventually will.
Yeah.
It eventually will. Before new technology comes out. Yeah. There's always new lighting, it seems like, since I've been doing this.
We'll get onto the double-ended fixtures, and then the US will have come up with triple-ended fixtures and quadruple-ended fixtures. It'll be like, oh, give us a break, come on, we're just about catching up here. You've got, that was the ceramic metal hard. Just very quickly on the Solis Tek 1000 and the Matrix single-ended, double-ended. Let's talk about the Matrix, actually, because the Solis Tek 1000 is your digital ballast, isn't it?
Correct.
Again, if you're using magnetic ballasts and you're looking to take a movement up to digital ballast, check out the Solis Tek 1000s. It's up there with the best of the digital ballasts. But the Matrix single-ended, double-ended 1000 watt fixtures, you've got a feature, and if it doesn't fall, this is it, isn't it? This is for the Matrix.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and it's the controller. So again, I'm really sorry for you guys that just listen on the podcast. Watch on Facebook if you want to see the pictures. But you've got a really nice controller here, and so if you've controlling, what does this control up to?
Okay, so this controller itself can control, theoretically it can control as many matrix ballasts as you have off of that. However, we recommend batching them up in sets of 25 to 50 per remote control.
Yeah.
I'm going that route with it. It keeps it a little easier to keep everything maintained, especially for my big commercial gardens in the States. This unit is a nice unit because you can go in and you can lower the wattages all at once.
Yeah.
You can switch out the timer. This has the built-in timer feature, so you can actually set the timer on it and run with it. It's a very solid remote, nice and sleek. It's got a good glass screen to it. Now it's been upgraded. So,
and what I like about that is in your room, if you walked in and you had 10 ballasts on the back, rather than shimmying around and doing some cool manoeuvres to get round the back, it's that you walk into your room, whip the remote out, bang, bang, bang,
absolutely.
Change the wattage so you can dim them if you need to.
Yes.
You can go from 18 hours on to 12 hours on.
This is a complete customizable. This is completely customized time, so if you have a specific lighting schedule that you like to keep with that maybe isn't a mainstream lighting schedule, you can do that on this.
Okay. I don't know, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know any other lighting company that you've got a controller with.
No, we were the original.
And people
people have definitely. I mean, imitation is the best form of flattery, the way we look at it. So we must have done something right. So we were the original out there. We are still. Now, I want to go over real quick with you, is even on our regular standard digital ballast, the Solis Tek 1001, growers need to remember that all of our ballast can fire both the single-ended and the double-ended lamps. So there's no need now to have to switch things out back when you had to. So you can fire both single and double-ended. And then it's a good ballast for the Matrix. Going back to the Matrix, sorry, I know I bounced around a little bit. It's a great ballast for a beginner because you can always add on to it. 9 times out of 10 when somebody has a successful garden on their first run, they're going to upgrade. They're going to expand their garden. Whether it be 1 light or 50 lights, something's going to happen. So this ballast is a really good ballast to be able to do that for the newer grower, because chances are if they're successful, they're going to expand. They're going to grow.
Something, I'm going to ask you a question now. It's a bit out the blue, just thought of it then. What our customers tend to have a bit of a problem with is you can get these all-in-one fixtures. Excuse me, my throat's a little hoarse. You can get all these all-in-one fixtures, and then the summer comes and it's a bit too hot to run them, and then changing the all-in-one fixture to swapping it over to air-cooled, they have nightmares sourcing an air-cooled reflecting air, sourcing a different type of bulb there. But I noticed on your website that you do all-in-one cooled hoods, and air-cooled hoods. You've got
we have air-cooled hoods, but our double-ended fixtures aren't air-cooled.
But you can change for the Solis Tek 1000. You've got interchangeable hoods.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So if they wanted to switch from a double-ended lamp to a single-ended lamp, through those months, they can absolutely do that and go air-cooled.
And that's something that a couple of our customers do have problems with, because you've got to some of these companies don't have, they just have one type of reflector and they don't come with air-cooled hoods.
Right.
So having the interchangeable hoods is a nice idea.
That's definitely a good idea. However, I recommend, when the C1 drops, that's what you're going to want to do for those hotter months. Yeah, the C1's an amazing fixture. We've seen really good results so far in the beta test that we've pulled in the gardens that we've got it in. So that's my new recommendation. I got to plug the C1. That's what I recommend. But absolutely, for the ones that want the air-cooled still and are running the single-winded lamps, we do have that. We have our website and our catalog. You'll look at our products, and we offer something from the beginner gardener in a closet up to a commercial grower that has 1,000 lights that he wants to put in.
Yeah.
So we cover all avenues,
Awesome.
all bases.
Last thing on the ceramic metal halides before we move on to the light diet is for anyone that's not too clued up, because it is a relatively new technology coming into the UK. You do the 3,200 Kelvin and the 4,200 Kelvin.
Correct.
So the reason you would want those two is the 3,200 more for the flowering power.
Correct.
4,200 for more the vegetative
Absolutely.
power. Can you use both at the same time?
You can.
And
you can.
Could, if you wanted to split really short internodal growth, short stocky plants, you could run all for of the blue, the 4,200 Kelvin lamps, and then when you come into flowering, you could mix and match, so some blues and some reds.
You could.
For the flowering power.
You could.
What's your recommendation?
For the C1, my recommendation is just to run the lamps through the way they have, because on the DEs, and we'll go over this when we go in the light diet, is to just run the 3,200 through your flower, because it does give the reds and the intensities. Now, naturally, the natural way of growing is bringing full spectrum to the plant. So what we're trying to do is bring the sun in doors. When you give the plant both spectrums, the 32 and the 42, you are giving it more of a natural spectrum as far as that goes, while you're still able to give the reds and the yellows to get the bulking and the density and the oil production.
Yeah.
So you can run both of them together. However, you're not going to see any type of negative results if you decide to, just go strictly 3,200 through flower and then veg.
Okay. Cool. Well, talking about the Kelvin and the different types of light, let's get on to the actual light diet, because this is we don't just have anybody on the podcast, and Solis Tek have brought something innovative, and we love innovation. We've done a podcast on it, innovation versus imitation, where we talked about people that are bringing out new products and trying to move the industry upwards.
Right.
And imitators that, it was good and bad. Imitators tend to just copy products and don't make them any better.
Right.
And we say, what's the point in that?
Right.
If you're going to imitate, it's okay to imitate, but improve on the products that you find. That's fine.
We agree.
But with Solis Tek, it's all innovation, and that's why we wanted to get you on there, especially with the light diet.
Well, that's one thing that we pride ourselves in, is being innovators, in the industry. Like I said, when we first came out in 2009, we had a technology that we introduced that literally changed the game. Yeah. When that came on the market, the buzz in the community in America was really like, holy cow, I can't believe they got this.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm seeing this, and it's taken this long for them to have that. So we got a really good reputation early on, coming out and being innovators, and we're not a knockoff company, Like I said, we may be a little late to the game sometimes releasing product, but rest assured we're doing that for the right reasons. We want to make our product better, the best product on the market. So we sit back and we watch everybody else.
See where the flaws are.
See where the flaws are at, and then not make them.
Yeah, man. It's a good business model.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Okay, so I probably haven't put these in order. Let's go from 2K. Start with the 2K.
Okay, we can start with the 2K.
So we're on the double-ended light bulbs now. Just quickly, for anyone that hasn't used a double-ended before, what is the main key benefit of using double-ended as opposed to single-ended?
Well, the big one is the increase in yield. As soon as you put a double-ended lamp in, you're looking at an increase of 10 to 15% right out the gate. I know that's kind of a wide variable, 10 to 15%, but it's still, a lot of things depend on it. What you're going to see is an increase, environment, variety, a lot of different things do factor in when it comes down to that. The biggest advantage, I would say, is the overall yield, but going from a double-ended or going to a double-ended from a single-ended, it does have some disadvantages as well. You have more heat, there's more energy required. So, with the extra added heat involved, you're going to have more ventilation needed, more air conditioning. But the overall yield outweighs those negative factors by far. Yeah. By far.
So the 2K, when do we start with the 2K?
Okay, so our light diet, the way it works, we actually have 4 different lamps. The 2K is your normal HPS flowering lamp, okay? So the way what we recommend is you veg with the 6K metal halide, okay? So you're vegging with your 6K metal halide, our blue, and then When you're finished through your veg, during your transition period, you use our 4K metal halide, which that would be the first 2 to 3 weeks of flower. You would use this. And this, everything's the same design. What it is our gas chemistry is refined.
Yeah.
What we do is actually mimic the seasons of the sun. So once you do this and you actually do the bulb changes and the bulb swaps, your plant is reacting to its more natural environment rather than it. And the reason why we do bring out the 4K, you have to remember during growth, the plant, especially during trigger time, the plant is stressed quite a bit, actually. It's getting used to new food. It's getting used to a new environment, a new lighting schedule. You know, so a lot of these things take into effect. And if a plant can transition from vegging to flowering easier, it's going to be easier on the plant. You know, so you're not going to have to deal with the stress, you know, so on and so forth, what you'll see from there. So we recommend 6K for the veg. We recommend the first 2 to 3 weeks, the 4K. And then recommend flowering, obviously, all the way through with the HPS. And then the last 2 weeks, we recommend our 10K finisher lamp, which is a high UV, basically a high UV stress lamp. This is going to produce some of the highest UV out there. And what it does is it basically triggers the plant into producing more oil. It's tricking the plant. So the plant thinks, oh my goodness, here's this UV. I got to start making a sunscreen, which is the oil that we're looking for. This lamp is a phenomenal lamp. You can use it. Obviously, it is dubbed the finisher lamp. You can use it through veg, certain varieties, but you need to be careful with it. This isn't a lamp that you give to a brand new gardener who has no idea. This is something that you really want to educate the gardener about. The proper way of finishing, you run it the last 10 to 14 days. We normally recommend date the last 10 days. When you start your flush, you add this lamp to it, and you're going to see increased oil production. You're going to see increased sugars. You're going to see things come from a plant that you haven't seen before. I've seen some amazing things from this plant, but I've also seen some devastating things from people just not listening to the proper. You know, this is a specialty lamp. This is something that you have to be well aware of because you could take a chance in ruining a garden if you don't do it properly.
After putting all that work in for over the last 3, 4, however many months it is, and then you throw one bulb in, just thinking that it's the next best thing to slice bread and ruin it potentially.
Absolutely. I've seen it happen, and that's just mainly people not listening to what we're talking about, going rogue and doing it their own way, which is fine, to each his own. However, we're here to educate and to teach you the proper way of doing it. And this isn't snake oil. We get a lot of people talking about how, it doesn't work. Now, I will tell you that every plant loves UV. However, some plants don't like as much UV. So it could be variety dependent, depending on what you're using or what you've got going in your garden. If it doesn't work, or if you don't see much in one variety, don't give up. Try it on a different variety. You know, see what happens. If you find out that the 10K is a little more intense for the UV that your plant's wanting, you can easily still finish off with our metal halide, our 6K. It does still produce quite a bit of UV as well, and it still will produce enough to get it in there. The reason why we came out with our light diet was if you look at the spectrums between HPS, 2K, and metal halide, the traditional way of growing is to flower with HPS all the way through. However, when you look at that, you see that there's very minimal UV. UV is essential. You've got to have UV for plant growth. You know the whole deal with UV, how important that is. So we always wondered, well, why are we not adding the UV into it? Because we're not growing the plant to its true potential. Once you start adding UV to the plant early on, with the 4K during the mix or the transition, you're going to see earlier you're going to see earlier sugar production. You're going to see tighter node spacing. You are going to see oils produced a lot earlier than normal. It's just overall more beneficial for the plant because you are giving that plant its natural diet. As close as we can get to the sun, that's what you're giving it.
You know, a funny thing, and I don't know how closely this is related, it's just something that we observed on the allotment. We built a polytunnel last year, and we had tomato plants inside the polytunnel, some outside in the raised beds. Now, we bought this sheeting to go over the polytunnel, and it was UV. It stopped the UV penetrating the polytunnel because bees and other insects that other insects that can potentially harm your plants, they see through UV. So if there's no UV in there, they don't see your plants and they don't see it as a food source, and you're happy because your food crop's great. It got to the end, and the tomatoes produced were nice. They were done in AutoPots, and the ones outside in the raised beds were better, and they didn't get as much care and attention. And for ages, I was racking my head thinking I'd give these inside the polytunnel if they're in AutoPots. They've had great feed. I mean, they're brilliant environment. And then when it came to replace the coating on the outside, I thought UV. And this was already in my mind as well. I thought, I wonder if that's the case.
Absolutely.
It blocked all UV out, and the tomatoes just didn't swell, and they didn't have that really juicy taste. The ones outside, just willy-nilly in the raised beds, were awesome.
UV is essential. You have to have UV. UV, I mean, that's part of nature. That's science. That's the science behind the light diet.
Yeah.
It's not snake oil. It's not to increase sales or anything like that. This is the natural way. Now, I do, in America, we have what we call a cheat sheet. For my commercial gardeners out there, these guys that are running hundreds of lights in these warehouses, they obviously don't have time or manpower to do a complete swap out every few weeks with their lamps. So what we do is I call it a checkerboard pattern. And this is something that we've really started to put into the commercial gardens heavily, as far as, getting these guys their full spectrum all the way through. The way the checkerboard pattern works is super easy. You're still vegging with the 6K, okay? Through your veg, you're still vegging with this. But instead of switching out your lamps, you're now adding, in a checkerboard pattern, the 4K, and you're adding the HPS. Okay. So you're checkerboarding them out. So let's say you're running 24 lights. Yeah. Okay, 12 is going to be HPS, 12 is going to be 4K. Yeah. That's the way it's going to work. What that's doing is that's really integrating the full spectrum all at once. This is the way that I recommend it, really, for anybody. If you're running multiple lights, this is really the way to go. If you're running more than 4 lights, 6 lights, the checkerboard pattern works. It's there. You're giving the plant the UV earlier on. You're starting the oil production early, and the plants are just happier. You can just look at them and tell that they're just happier. Yeah. And then, of course, you do this all the way through your flower, and then you finish off the last 10 days with the 10K. Okay. So you're not getting as many bulb changes in there. It's a little bit easier.
And also the advice that you've just given there means that the grower doesn't have to buy as many lamps either.
Absolutely. So absolutely. That's another thing.
Nice bit of advice where you're not just trying to push products, you're actually giving advice out there that's saving the grower money as well.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm a gardener just like anybody else. And at the end of the day, it's about being honest and coming out and educating, and not trying to do snake oil and just to get sales. I mean, we're a legitimate company. We're growers. All of us are growers as well. So we know what we want. Yeah. We want to give that to you. Yeah. It's kind of one of those things.
The good thing about our industry is that if this 10K bulb was snake oil, in about, you've been going for, how long have we been selling these in the UK for now?
6, 7, 8 months.
8 months. So let's give you one more month. Let's just say it's been 9 months, just for ease of use. There's 3 opportunities there for people to have gone, 10K, I didn't see any difference whatsoever. What a pile of shit. That gets onto the forums. That comes back to you guys. That comes back to the wholesalers. And it gets to a point where you can't sell them products anymore. Right. I imagine, though, that these sales just been going up.
Fantastic,
up. So without me having properly used the 10K bulb yet in the double-ended fixture, I know from the forums and from the fact that sales are going up. And growers aren't stupid. They know when a product works and when a product is just snake oil. It gets pushed out the market very quickly. So there's your proof. There's your 50% proof that this is a good piece of kit to start investing into. We've had a question, actually. What is the life of the 10K lamp? How many cycles can you run that for?
Well, let's see. The life of the 10K, you're looking at around 6,000 hours would be maximum. Now, the 10K, you're only using it, a small amount of time throughout the garden or throughout the run. So with that being said, you can get longevity out of it. I mean, you could run these lamps depending on how well you take care of the lamp, the fixture that you're running the lamp in. Of course, Solis Tek. We always pride ourselves in educating people on match sets. Running all of Solis Tek this, or even if you don't decide to go with the brand, whatever brand you're running with, make sure that you run. That's just designing or whatnot between the two. So about 6,000 hours average on the metal halides. And then you can use this 10K, like I said, however long. I mean, I've got guys that have been using the same 10K now for a year, a couple of years.
tend to only use it for the last 10 days, 2 weeks.
Last 10 days.
So it's gonna. So with 5,000 hours, I'm not gonna do the maths
and
live.
this lamp
it's gonna last you a while.
Isn't designed to be ran 24 hours either. 16 hours max on something like this is what it's the gas chemistry inside, the gas chemistry involved. You know, there's a lot of technicals involved with it, so it's definitely not recommended to be ran 24. So the longevity, if you're taking care of your garden and you know you're not beating up your gear, it should last a while.
Okay. For people that are listening and they're just not into double-ended just yet, they can't maybe afford it financially, or they're not ready to make the transition. You've also got the light diet and the single-ended bulbs, haven't you?
Absolutely, the same
Exactly
light diet
same
apply.
setup.
Exactly.
So you've got let's start the 6K. So you've got the 6K single-ended metal halide. Start off with your veg, exactly like we've just been through again. Flick through onto the 4K for the transition.
Correct.
You've got your HPS throughout flowering.
Correct.
And you've also got the 600 watt metal halide 10K
Correct.
for the finishing.
Correct.
So for anyone who's running digital lights and you want to have a little experiment with this light diet and see how close you can get to replicating the sun, you've also got them single-ended, which is awesome.
Now our lamps, you can fire our lamps on any ballast on the market.
Yeah.
So it's you can fire them on. However, people need to growers need to remember and keep in mind that our lamps are designed for our ballast.
Yeah.
So the frequencies are matched with one another. The gas chemistries match with one another. So we call it the Pepsi Challenge. You can physically plug in our product, fire it up, look at the light, compare it to another one, and just look at it physically and see that there's a difference. Yeah. And it, hands down, I can comfortably and honestly say that I feel that we do have the best lamps on the market.
Yeah.
Because the gas chemistry that we provide is a unique, refined gas chemistry.
Okay. And hopefully you would tell me, is it the guy who's your super tech guy back home, what was his name again?
Matt.
So hopefully what we're trying to figure out, and it's up to Rick, this is Rick's big job, is being able to link the guys in the US to us so we can have a chat with you live, and hopefully in the next few months, maybe next year, we'll be able to have a chat with them and he can go into more of the chemistry of the light bulb.
Absolutely. Matt's a genius. Hello, Matt. I'm pretty sure he's listening.
But you mentioned as well that the synergy of working with Solis Tek ballast and Solis Tek bulbs, I picked up on your total harmonic distortion, and it's not something that I imagine a lot of people know a lot about.
Okay.
So just give us it in a nutshell, and then maybe in the future, if there's interest, we can go into more information, more detail on it.
So THD, total harmonic distortion, basically what that is. So let me break it down to the way I pitch it to regular people. Yeah. If most people that are listening know a little bit about car audio. Okay, when you're integrating car audio, so when you're installing a car stereo into your vehicle, you want to make sure that you have the match set. So if you're running a Pioneer system, you have the Pioneer head unit, the amplifier, and the speakers. The sound coming out of the speakers, obviously, is the end product. Same thing applies for lighting, ballast, and lamps. If you match all of that up to a match set, your frequencies are on point, your total harmonic distortion is going to be lower. Therefore, you're going to be able to achieve the spectrum that you really need, or in the audio world, the sound that comes out. Or you do that with the sound by tweaking the amplifier, so on and so forth. Like I said, the same thing applies to lighting. Yeah. We pride ourselves in less than 8% THD on the output side. Yeah. Now, what the output is from the ballast to the lamp. Most companies, they pride themselves in less than 10% THD on the input side. Yeah. In all reality, the input side THD from the wall to the ballast it doesn't matter, because none of that's getting transferred to the light that's being pushed out. So on the output side, that's basically where it comes from. And what it is, it's more along the lines of matching frequencies. If you have the lower THD, you're not going to have the harmonic distortions, which could, it could damage the lamp. Premature failures. Yeah. You could have premature failures with the ballast. It's just not good. It's making the ballast work a little bit harder and overdriving.
Okay. I've got a feeling that this total harmonic distortion, I've picked up on it recently. I think that there's going to be a lot more coming out with regards to frequencies, and essentially when you have less distortion, it means that the bulb can run to its truer spectrum, and your bulb's going to have longer life, shelf life as well, isn't it? Not shelf life, running life.
Correct.
We're going to leave distortion there because it's quite a big topic. You could probably dedicate a podcast to it, and we don't want to blow the minds of the people listening just yet. You mentioned ignition control. We're going to touch on those as well, because it's ignition control and the smart sense diagnostics. They're two key features I think people need to realise. what if people are thinking, well, what's really the benefits of digital and magnetic? These are two of the things that
Absolutely.
are big improvements from
Absolutely.
magnetic.
So our ballast, we have two different types of technology, and like I said, we were the original innovators. We have ignition control, and we have the SenseSmart technology. So ignition control is the staggered ignition between multiple ballasts. If you're running multiple Solis Tek units, they'll stagger on 3 to 5 seconds in between one another. There's really no way of pinpointing how. What it does is it just checks the circuits and makes sure everything's connected and the lamp's proper to fire, so on and so forth. That's the ignition control. The SenseSmart technology is an 8-point safety check. So it checks anything from overvoltage, overheating. It'll check for open circuits. Mm-hmm. It'll check the voltage on your lamp. If your lamp's about to blow, the ballast will detect that and shut it down. Okay. I'm not for sure exactly how the ballast does that, but I do know that is one of the features that it has. It will shut the ballast down, like I said, before firing the lamp, so it prevents hot starts. Yeah. That's very, very, very important, especially now in the U.S. because of the commercial facilities starting to come up. Inspectors, safety is key. Safety is number one when it comes down to it. With our safety diagnostics, and there are, like I said, now most digital ballasts in the U.S. do have a form of this type of technology, and they're integrated in. We were the originals. We were the first ones to come out with it. They kind of followed suit. Yeah.
One of the things that we had a little chat about before we started the podcast was some of these all-in-one fixtures, they say that they don't run metal halides or that they're incompatible, but obviously your fixtures, they run HPS double-ended.
Absolutely.
They run metal halides.
Yes.
So how come? What's the reason behind that? What is your technology, is your ballast got that allows it to run?
We have what you call a hot lamp restrike technology. What that is that if the power goes down and your lights go out, before our ballast refires and restrikes, it's going to detect the proper firing temperature of the said lamp. For those ballasts and those all-in-one fixtures on the market currently that do not have that type of technology, there could be, if there's an outage or a failure, there could be a failure with that. Yeah. That doesn't mean that the lamp is incompatible. That means that particular company's technology, they need to step their game up. Yeah. That's what that means. So if you do have a metal halide that fails, it's going to be a failure. It's not something that's a small failure. They could explode. But I can assure you, out of the thousands of lamps that we've sold, we've yet to have that happen very often as far as
because of this diagnostics and ignition control type.
Absolutely.
Thing. So in essence, the HPS is if they don't really, with HPS bulbs, if they go off, they can restrike. It's not great for the bulb. It's going to probably reduce the length, the lifespan of the bulb, but restriking and going off and restriking.
Right.
There's no major issues with it. But with metal halides, once they go off, if they restrike at the wrong temperature, they can potentially explode.
Absolutely.
Your technology knows that it's too hot, or just when the right, it's the Goldilocks and the porridge, isn't it?
Right.
It knows exactly when the right temperature is, and will not restrike it until it's ready.
Correct.
Other manufacturers don't have this technology, or they're maybe starting to get the technology, but you guys were the first ones with that technology. So essentially, if you're running metal halides through your integrated fixture, your all-in-one, your double-ended, you absolutely need to make sure that it's got that hot restrike function.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't, you're going to have problems.
So the easiest way to do that is just to use Solis Tek. That's the easiest way.
Available through Highlight Horticulture.
Who whispered that?
Start plugging.
An omnipotent voice from space at that. Yeah, you can get these A1 fixtures from Highlight. One of the few points that we wanted to mention, one of the last ones, is that there's a little bit of confusion, and I'm confused as well. And I know we all talked about it before we started again. The 400 volt, 240 volt. I won't call it a fiasco, but I have not got a clue about why do some use 240 volt and why do some use 400 volts. And when we mentioned it to you, you'd never been asked that question before in the US, had you?
Well, I mean, it's been asked, but it's not something that we really... The way we work at it is it's just a matter of saving amperage draw when you're bumping up your voltage as far as that goes. So instead of having to plug in multiple lines, you'd only plug in one line into that. The only benefit to that really is, our opinion from what we see, is the amperage, saving on the amperage draw and going that route. Not many gardens over there, even the commercial gardens, are running that way. For instance, Solis Tek, we've had quite a few questions come up about a 480 volt, and we won't mess with a 480 volt because of the danger behind it. Yeah. That you're talking, this is panels that sometimes power neighborhoods. You know, there's no sense for a garden to be ran as far as that goes. There was actually an article, if anyone's on Facebook, I got to give a plug to my guy Matt from Solis Tek. He put a great article out a few months ago on his page talking about the 480 volt compared to a 277 volt. It's mostly with safety as far as that goes.
I don't suppose you know off the top of your head that Facebook page, do you? If you don't,
it'd be Solis Tek Matt. That's his. Yeah, all you'd have to do
Facebook.
on his Facebook. You just have to go friend him. Ask him.
Yeah.
He's the brains behind.
If you're struggling to find that, we'll get in touch with Matt. Ask him to send over that article that he's written, and we'll post it on the NPK Hydroponics.
Yeah, there was a good article that he got, and he did put it out, explaining it a little bit more in depth of why it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So you can still run our products, on those. The only, like I said, draw or the advantage of it would be the amperage saving.
Well, that's the US. The UK, 400 volt, 240 volt. The majority of ours are run at 240. You've got some fixtures now that are running at 400 volt or claiming to run at 400 volt. I actually don't know the difference, and we've had a chat, and we're not going to claim that we know the difference. So essentially what we're saying is, if anyone listening or everybody watching is an electrical engineer, magnificado or whatever you call them, you need to let us know what is the difference, because I'm 99% sure if we got power meters under a 240 volt fixture and a 400 volt fixture, the output is no different. Now I'm putting my neck on the line there. I'm 99% sure there's no difference. My belief is that the difference comes from when you have multiple units, because the increased voltage you have lesser amperage. But what's the real? Why is that a selling point? Can you? We had a chat.
Yeah, we're not too sure. We think the lamp, when we were looking earlier with some of the fixtures, we think that the lamp's actually the 400 volt.
Yeah.
So I mean, if someone can chime in and
tell us the benefits of that, please do. It's something that
I think, in a nutshell, Steve, you've addressed it quite well there, and just in what you've just said. The way I see it, the only advantage to a 400 volt system is when you're talking multiples of lamps. Yeah. And as Josh quite rightly said a minute ago, you'd draw from a single point for a multiple of lamps rather than draw from multiple electrical points for multiple lamps. Yeah. I think that would be the only kind of relative advantage for a grower.
Okay. So essentially, do a bit more research. We're going to try and get some more information for you guys, but there's no game-changing effect of being 400 volt or 240 volts. Don't let that influence your decision when you come to buying a fixture, because in my opinion there's not going to be a huge amount of difference.
Yeah, the light you get from a lamp is essentially why you buy a lamp in the first place. Yeah. So there's no fundamental or measurable difference between a 400 volt and a 240 volt. I really don't see the point in
making it,
because let's have it right, the 400 volt units are seemingly more expensive than the 240 volt units.
Yeah.
So for me, there's got to be some kind of massive saving in terms of power usage to justify the initial outlay.
Or massive increase in safety or something.
I think the only way you would see those kind of potential savings is with real multiples of lamps. I mean, I'm talking 50, maybe 100 plus lamps. You'd start to see significant savings, but apart from that, I don't think so.
Not much. Email us in if you're listening and tell us what you think the differences are, or if you're watching, comment on the picture, on the video, and tell us why we're wrong and why you should be doing a podcast. Let's get this microphone back over here. One of the last things I wanted to mention is, before we wrap it up, is this low iron glass. Now, we always recommend for air cooled lights, they're good in the summer. Obviously it's going to run at a cooler temperature, but it distorts the spectrum, and actually coming through a thickness of plastic or glass, that distorts the spectrum as well. But you've got low iron glass in your reflectors.
So in our reflectors and our lamps, we do offer low iron glass, and what that is just cleaner glass. So it's glass with less contaminants. So it's less material that the spectrum has to filter through before it gets to the canopy. So it's in a nutshell, it's just cleaner.
Yeah, it's not something that I know a huge amount. I know that glass is essentially particles of silica, and with silica you get oxides of iron.
Right.
And if you get really thick glass, I believe it's the iron that gives it that greeny tint to it.
Right.
So if you've got low iron glass, it's probably, I'm imagining it's purer, less iron in it.
That's right.
And there's going to be less distortion when the light penetrates through this glass. And you can see it on thick glass, you'll see the green. If you go at an angle, you can actually see the greens. And that's the iron, I imagine. So low iron glass less distortion, better for your air cool tubes, and better for bulbs.
As far as I know, we are one of the few that do utilize that. I'm not for sure if we're the only ones on the market with the low iron glass, but I do know that we are one of the few. Not many people do. Low iron glass, it's a little bit more expensive for manufacturers to achieve.
Yeah.
So that's kind of... Solis Tek, we're definitely about spending the extra bit of money and not passing on that to the grower.
Yeah. So do you do low iron glass for specific bulbs, or is it across
all bulb across the board? Everything is low iron glass, as well as our reflectors.
Yeah. So you know me by now, if you're a listener for many months, that I'm the science part of the duo. Theoretically, that sounds awesome, and I'm actually really interested in it because it sounds like it's going to work less iron, less of that green tint.
Right.
Light's going to penetrate better.
Right.
But we're going to be doing some testing on that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the results are, see if the power output of that glass compared to a standard air-cooled glass, what the difference is, and if it's worth your investments getting this low iron glass. But definitely, I was really interested in that. It's a great feature. Now, the last bit is, we've talked about Solis Tek. Obviously, the light diet is something phenomenal, something innovative, and if you're interested in tweaking the environment and that the lights that your plants receive, changing the plant's morphology and being able to manipulate the plant through the light, then this is the thing for you. In the UK, where the shop's buying the Solis Tek from, so move that over to you. So you've got I know that the A1 fixture is Highlight, isn't it?
The 1000 watt double-ended A1 fixture is available from Highlight Horticulture to UK hydroponic shops.
Yeah. Who do you distribute to? Let's go London, Midlands, and NPK will sell the A1 fixture if people are interested.
Yeah, essentially as a wholesaler, we've selected shops across the country who we believe have the right ethos and attitude to support the A1 fixture, because it's not a mass-produced, sell thousands of units type of fixture. We wanted to make sure that it was the right people who were educating the customer with the light diet, of course, because as Josh quite rightly said, there's inherent dangers with changing your lights to these light diet incorporating lamps. So of course you can't just kind of throw them out there for everybody to use straight away, because there's going to be issues. So yeah, we selected shops across the country. They're currently stocking and selling the A1 fixture. When people's education is that much kind of keener in terms of double-ended fixtures, then we'll roll it out to every shop in the UK.
So you've got us in Liverpool. If you shop at our shop, more on online, you can get them from us. Shop in Manchester,
GM Hydro Garden, Dutch Hydroponics, National Hydroponics. In Yorkshire, you've got Wakefield Hydroponics. What else have you got? Green Spirit, Wakefield Hydroponics. Green Spirit in Sheffield, Midlands Garden Alchemy, Tropicana in Derby, Wheatley Hydroponics Essex. You've got East London Hydro, Wales Grow Org. There's quite a few. Yeah, there's a few. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but there's a few.
And they're all top shops you recommend.
Yeah, they're good guys. Yeah. We're trying to do with the full range. We're trying to keep it exclusive, not give it to everybody. We don't want to start seeing the brand people selling on eBay for next to nothing, because it's a top quality brand. Yeah. So we try to give it exclusive in a lot of areas, and the feedback from that's been fantastic. I mean, people are really getting behind it, and we're getting more and more shops every month calling.
Awesome.
So big
US,
things.
Where do these guys get them from? The US? There's wholesalers distributing to the shops.
Yeah. Well, we self-distribute to the shops. Okay. So they can go. Honestly, I couldn't start naming off. I can do a couple big plugs for a couple of my big guys, hydrogalaxy.com in Burbank, California. They're great. Discount Hydroponics in Riverside, California. They have a shop in Victorville, California. If you're way up in Alaska, you got to go to my guys Southside Garden Supply, or you can go to Alaska Jacks as well. They carry both the A1 fixtures in our full range. Let's see here. We have retailers in Colorado, Oregon, Washington, all across the U.S. You can go into shops. Any shop, even if Solis Tek isn't in that shop, you can always walk into a shop and ask for Solis Tek. That shop can reach directly out to myself or one of my reps. Yeah. I have reps throughout the entire United States. So there's totally accessible if you need it.
Cool. Now here's the question for you. We have a growing subscribership you can get them in Canada as well, can't you?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
about the guys in Australia, because I've noticed that you guys in Australia have started listening a lot more. So big shout out to the guys down under. Is there any way of them getting hold of Solis Tek?
They can get a hold of Solis Tek, and I apologize if you're listening. You know who I'm talking to. But we are accessible throughout the world, globally. You can catch us anywhere. We're accessible in Europe, Australia, Canada. We've done really well as far as really breaking in outside of the U.S.
And the last bit, social media, that big juggernaut of social interaction. I get that, you Facebook,
a lot.
Instagram, Twitter,
yes.
YouTube.
Yes. I don't do the Twitter, and I don't personally do the YouTube. Solis Tek, though, you can follow us on Facebook at the Solis Tek digital lighting page. You can follow me at Josh, Josh, Solis Tek. Instagram, you can catch us at also Solis Tek digital lighting on Instagram. You can catch me on Instagram, Solis Tek _J. The rest of them I don't mess with. I just deal with those. And then Solis Tek, we also have a YouTube channel that we did start up. Just search for Solis Tek digital lighting, it'll pull up there. I believe it might be Solis Studios. We don't have many videos on there yet. We are adding videos on there, though. We're growing really quick and really fast and large, so sometimes it's kind of difficult for us to find the time to really do a quality video and put it up.
Yeah, I know that.
We're not going to bring a product to market that isn't up to par, so we're going to do the same thing when it comes down to videos as well. We don't want to look ridiculous.
For you guys in the UK, what's the social media that they can stay up to date on Solis Tek?
Solis Tek UK is on Facebook. There's also a Twitter account, and got an Instagram, a personal Instagram one, but we are going to set another one up for the UK.
Okay. Well, not saying that personal Instagram too much.
Oh no, no, Richard Solis Tek UK. Yeah, cool.
I thought there might have been some what you get up to in your personal time on there. We can do a lot on the podcast, and we do a little bit more now that the people are watching live, and obviously when it's finished live you can catch it on the Facebook page. But there's so much that I want to be able to get into with Solis Tek. That's why we set up YouTube. The YouTube studio is going to be getting built just behind us there. It's going to have a massive grow room. The Solis Tek lights will be in there. There'll be everything in there, because everything is going to get tested, and we are super harsh when it comes to bad kit. So be worried. You may have noticed on Twitter I said me and Thomas are going to war, and we're nearly ready. Our armies are nearly ready. So if you're bringing shit products into our industry and you're just about money and profits and nothing else, you best be worried, because we're going to find you and we're going to get you. But one day I hope you're back in the US, because I'd love to do one of our YouTube videos with you and maybe spark up some of these bad boys, get a palm meter underneath them, and show people what they're really about.
This definitely isn't my last trip. I had a great time while I was over here. I fly out tomorrow. Big shout out to my distributor here, Richard, for really showing me a great time and being able to meet the stores and the people and the growers.
Okay.
It was an awesome experience.
Nice. And you're off to Prague, aren't you?
Yes, we're going to be in CANNA Fest in Prague this coming up weekend, so if anybody's going to the show, make sure you stop by the booth. Lots of giveaways, lots of gear. We're going to be showcasing our ceramic metal halide, our C1, of course the A1, all of our lamps. It's going to be a good show. Awesome. Usually is a good show.
Excellent. Listen, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciated it. Richard, thank you very much, buddy. And highlight. Big hugs.
He's here somewhere.
Listen, if you're I can do our shout outs. You get us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. It's just NPK Live or NPK Technology. And for you guys watching the video, if you liked it, you think your mates could do with this Solis Tek info, give the page a share and give this video a share. Thank you very much for watching. You've been with myself, Stephen, and actually we'll be back on Thursday with the guys from HID talking about CBD because of the MHRA. How about that for some taking it out there? Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll be back on Thursday, so catch you then. Bye bye.